Hello, whiskey folk. Sorry for being a couple of minutes early. We had a few technical difficulties. It's at 10 o'clock on Sunday night. It's the 21st of January. And
Hello,
welcome. Oh, just let me mute my own channel. I get caught out with this every time.
10 o'clock on Sunday night of January. And welcome. Oh, just let me mute my own channel. I get caught out with this every time.
This is a disaster.
And welcome. Oh, just let me mute my own channel.
Or is it somebody else? Somebody else has got it running. Who can I mute? One of my guests is.
Or is it somebody else?
Mute.
Somebody else has got it running.
Apologies.
My guests is.
This is embarrassing. Is that better? I'm not hearing myself back now, right? Okay. Good. Sorry, let me start again. It's Sunday night, and tonight we're getting together with a few people. There are a few people in the stream, and I just had to go and mute them all out there and shut down some of the windows that's running here as well. I always get caught out with it. We've got a bunch of people coming in already. It's going to be tough for me to even do a roll call, and I'm a wee bit worried because this is all about Ralphy tonight. It's about celebrating a very significant milestone that Ralfy reached last night, and that was to reach 100,000 subscribers, which when you consider just kind of how niche single malt whiskey actually is, and I suppose the whiskey scene in general is much bigger, but 100,000 subscribers is really quite phenomenal. I've been a fan of Ralfy since about 2012, thereabouts, and I've just kind of watched so much of this man's content that I kind of feel like I know him a little bit. And as time's gone on and as he hit 30,000, 40,000, 50,000, it just kind of got faster and faster. And I realized that one day he's going to hit 100,000. I'm just super pleased to be here in a position to get some people together to celebrate that, because I think it is quite a big deal. I'm a wee bit worried that some people think that Ralph is going to show up tonight, that he's going to join us. That would be fantastic, but I have not approached Ralfy to ask that. I got the chance to meet Ralfy last year, and he was an absolute gentleman, but it was very clear just through speaking to him that he's a private guy and he likes to kind of protect his privacy, and I don't think that this would be his kind of thing. I would like to think that perhaps you might watch at some point, or watch little bits of it at some point, and just realize that what we're doing here, what we're getting together to do, is to kind of celebrate the effort that he's put in over the years, and the fun, the kind of whiskey fun that he's brought to us through his YouTube videos. And it's quite amazing. The guy has done a significant amount of YouTube videos now. He's well in advance of 800 videos, and he just continues to bring it week after week after week. He's still as charismatic as he's ever been, and he's still just more and more knowledgeable all the time. I think that what I wanted to do was not just get together with whiskey tubers, the guys that you see hooking up fairly regularly. I do have a couple of guests in. I do have a few whiskey tubers in, and a few that I'm hoping to get on their way as well a bit later on. But I also wanted to reach out to the fan base, the people who I know are Ralfy fans that are not whiskey tubers, that are just fans. So I did that too, and I've got a couple of fans I'm hoping to hook into the live stream a wee bit later on as well. So let's just see. I have to do a couple of administrative things, and I need to just kind of give a bit of a roll call, because we do have a bunch of people in already. Wow. Okay, we've got Toon Van Rouge from Holland, fantastic. We've got Scott Munro in. We've got Whiskey Whistle from Korea. We've got Amy, fantastic to see Amy. We've got Frank Harvey. I think that's a new name, Frank. Welcome in. We've got my wife in joining me tonight, fantastic. Christopher Malloy, nice to see you again, Christopher. We've got Eric, and Eric, I believe you've got a live stream going on a bit later tonight as well. So Eric's got lots of whiskey content on his channel. He's in the States. I think he's in West Coast States. So his live may be a bit late for the Eurozone guys, but I think Eric Waite's gone out live a bit later. We've got Whiskey Wings. Nice to see you, Mike. I think I know what you're drinking tonight, Mike. I believe you've poured a Ralphy's favourite Bunromac 10. I picked up your message earlier. We've got Frank Harvey. We've got Numenium. Who's Numenium? Is that a new name? Nice to see you in. That's 2 new names I don't recognise. We've got Whiskey Wolf, formerly known as Ebhead. Fantastic to welcome you in, Whiskey Wolf or Ebhead, however you want to be known, my friend. It's nice to have you back in again. Go Habs, nice to have you in. Who else do we have in? We've got Gus Turrell, a new name, Chris Beaton, Connor Strang, Malt Review. I guess that's Jason from Malt Review, who's otherwise known as Whiskey Rover. Fantastic to have you in, my friend. We've got Scott from Scotch Test Dummies. We've got Eric Gilbert. There's a bunch of people in. Now, I can't tell how many folk we've got in just now because I just shut down all my windows because of that technical issue at the beginning. But I'll pick that up a little bit later. So let's start off tonight by talking about the drams that I brought along, and you might recognise a bit of a theme to these drams. I've started off with a Glencadam 15. After I finish this little Glencadam 15, I also have on hand a Glendronach 15, the Revival. I have a Bunromac 10. I have an Old Pulteney 17. I have an Ardbeg 10. Because probably going to be reluctant to open that Revival 15-year-old Glendronach, I've got a backup Allardyce, which is still available, whereas the 15-year-old isn't. And the price of me replacing this now, this is wonderful whiskey, but this is now beyond its value point. To buy this whiskey now is just more than the whiskey can deliver on, despite how absolutely fantastic it is. I think some people are paying £200 and above for this now. So this might end up being a special occasion bottle, might end up being a trade or something, I don't know. But that's something to keep aside, and if we end up getting to the Glendronach, we'll open up the 18-year-old. So the theme for tonight is just to talk about Ralfy, to talk about what he's brought, to enthuse a little bit about the content he's brought us over the years, and to bring in guests and have them enthuse as well. My first guest doesn't need much of an introduction. These guys are fantastic. They do cite Ralfy as being their inspiration, or one of their inspirations for starting out. They've been going for a number of years now. They're growing all the time. They bring a lot of comedy. They bring a lot of fun to whiskey. They're into Scotch whiskey. They're into American whiskey. They're into world whiskey. They're into anything whiskey. But I think the thing that this channel is known for more than anything is reaching out to the whiskey community in general. And I'm not just talking about WhiskyTube, I'm talking about beyond WhiskyTube. They're active on all social media channels and pulling in this kind of concept of connectedness of the whiskey fabric, about reaching out to everybody, whether they're bloggers or industry people or vloggers or whatever, and connecting everybody. And everybody's felt that happening over the last year, and I think everybody's benefiting from it. So I would like to invite my first guest, which is the man who is pure class, Scott from Scotch Test Dummies. How are you, my friend?
Hi, Roy. Thanks for having me. First of all, great introduction. Very humbled by that. But back to Ralfy, the reason we're here today, not one of the inspirations for me and Bart, but probably the inspiration, you know, like most whiskey tubers and maybe even a lot of whiskey bloggers that are out there, just people getting into wanting to be involved in the reviewing of whiskey and just the exploration of whiskey itself. I'm sure Ralfy is an inspiration.
Did you ever feel like at some point catch yourself, maybe because you're the wrong side of 2 or 3 drams, but you know, we talk about and we joke about when the YouTube thing, if you can make it, if you could set it up like you're having a dram with them, sometimes I could actually find myself feeling almost like I was sitting in the corner of that bothy with them, right?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, go back and look, he hasn't changed. Well, I mean, he has changed. He's probably gotten better, but go back. For how long has he wore the same flannel jacket? You know, the hat, sat there with his little paint chip cards to, you know, with Ralfy.com on them.
He's a lesson in consistency. He really is. But I will say,
Yeah.
I wanted to try and do a bit of research beforehand, but we had a family day today and I struggled a bit. But I think that jacket seems to change. And I notice he's just switched to a yellow jacket, whereas last year's was kind of a blue jacket. I'm wearing, actually, this is the shirt tonight, is kind of in a Ralphy style. And I think last year's jacket, and when I met him, he was wearing a jacket that was in this kind of pattern. And I wonder if he starts a new year with a new color, maybe. But I agree with you completely. It's almost like if it wasn't for the different colored jackets, you would struggle to place when the video was recorded, because he's hardly changed, right?
Right. And also what I'm drinking. I can remember it was late 2012, early 2013, and I was drinking Johnny Walker Black mostly, Glenlivet 12, Glenfiddich 12, and I was in Alabama for some training, and I picked up a bottle of Balvenie 15-year single barrel, not the sherry cask, but the original, just the ex-bourbon cask, single barrel Balvenie. And I was cruising YouTube at the time, just different videos. And I thought, well, let's see if what's going on with whiskeys on here. And I found Ralfy, and he had not done the 15 single barrel yet, but I started watching some of his other videos. I think he'd done the Balvenie 12 double wood by that time. And maybe I even watched the Glenlivet if he'd done it. But that got me watching Ralfy, and me and Bart watching Ralfy and talking about doing a show. So, but I can directly remember I searched YouTube because of the Balvenie 15-year single barrel.
Fantastic. Fantastic. You can even remember the dram. I mean, I think that for me, I'm just going to have to kind of try and spread my little Ralfy inspirations throughout the feed. But when I first moved here to this area in east of Glasgow, I remember hooking up with my friend who's not in tonight, actually, the Whiskey Rev, and the two of us just starting to get together and really get into whiskey. And it was wonderful for me to have found a friend so close to me that I could really geek out about whiskey with. And that was my first thing. I was just sitting one night and I started to search on YouTube. I'd never considered that there was even YouTube content about whiskey. I'd never looked there before. I hadn't used it in that way. And I did the same as you. I just typed in a whiskey and up popped this guy. And I just sat there watching him and I said, this is odd, isn't it? You've got an old guy with a flat cap sitting in his room just talking about whiskey. And then somehow I got drawn in. And I was like, no, this isn't some old guy. This guy actually knows his stuff. And then I started to watch it. And I shared it with the Whiskey Rev and I showed him, and he had the same reaction as me. He was looking at him going, right. And then he's hypnotized as well. And I'll even tell you a story that it's still my favorite video of Ralphie's to this day, is it's a Johnny Walker Red video. And he's just comparing a current day, a contemporary Johnny Walker Red to a Johnny Walker Red from the 1970s. And that year we'd got a smart TV, and I'm watching YouTube on the smart TV, and the wife comes into the living room and sits on the couch when I'm watching this guy comparing these two whiskies. And she turned around to me and she said, "This is Hypnotic." So he has that kind of way, that kind of soothing delivery, I think, of just making you quite intrigued about what's in the glass. And I very rarely watch one of his videos and not have the desire to go and pour a dram, right?
I got to put on a Whiskey Throttle asked a question, so I had to put on a shirt.
The Lucky Bastard t-shirt.
Lucky Bastard Distilling, yep. I gotta wear, since we got Scotch Test Dummies gear, I gotta wear my shirts to promote our channel. So we have wore this in the past, Throttle.
You wore that. I happen to know that you wore that on your live stream with Whiskey Lassie.
Yeah, probably when we reviewed the Lucky Bastard.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Superb.
But no, congratulations to Ralfy, and hopefully maybe he'll watch this at sometimes. But 100,000 subscribers, milestone, I think. The pioneer for whiskey reviewers on YouTube. And I can remember you go back to the fall of 2012, first part of 2013, and I'm pretty sure he was around 12,000 to 15,000 subscribers at the time. And I thought, wow, that's just huge.
Yeah, I think it's just. I was always curious to watch it, to wonder where the ceiling was for whiskey content on YouTube. But then as I looked into YouTube further and further, and really YouTube is still in its infancy, it really is. Or certainly consuming video in that way, whether it's YouTube as the platform or not in the future, who knows? But right now it's the king. But you realize that it's just going to keep growing. It's just going to get more and more. And I've stopped thinking about how big Ralfy's going to get, how big his channel's going to get. The Whiskey Vault have come in now in his wake. The two, Daniel and Rex from Texas. And they're doing a great job. They've got 2 channels going, right? And they've proved on both channels that there's a huge appetite out there for whiskey. All of us that collaborate and work together and put out content, you guys put out content week in, week out. Everybody's continuing to grow together. And it seems to be getting quicker, if anything. I don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's more attention that's coming in. And I think we're kind of on the cusp now of distributors and distilleries of starting to watch YouTube and see what people are saying about their product. And so I think you'll see that pickup will become even more important, I think, in the whiskey, or not necessarily important, but more listened to in the whiskey community.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that I don't know if the industry's actually got a handle on how to cope with this. I don't know if they. I've often thought that if the producers pay to have Ralfy's influence.
Right. Well, I mean, that's part of it too. Think about Ralfy he wants to be free of any whiskey company or any of the industry, divisions. I mean, he's on his own. He's making his money from, AdSense, from advertising on the advertising on YouTube. But go back 5, 6, 7 years. What if he had chosen to become, paid for or went to work for a distillery or a distributor, say Diageo even? Would that have advanced efforts now, or would they still be in the same place they are with the industry starting to recognize whiskey tubers?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting as well. I think that in lots of ways, Ralfy, because he's isolated himself, because he seems to have kept his integrity absolutely intact, that's almost made him probably in a better position than if he'd gone off and accepted an industry job, which I don't believe Ralfy's ever actually been interested in, right?
Right. Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah. And I think that if Ralfy knocked the door of any of the big producers now and said, I'd like to sit down with you, I'd like to talk, I don't think the doors would be closed at any of these producers. And if they were, it would be for silly reasons, right? Surely that they're all going to kind of want to connect with this guy now, who's really, it's not just because they potentially could advertise their product, but just how much he's expanded whiskey globally, how much he's intrigued people, converted people, shown people how to appreciate it properly, shown them what decent whiskey actually is, and just taking them through step by step in little kind of bite-sized episodes, how to get the best out of it.
Yeah, I agree. And what also, I don't know you'd ever be able to gauge it or see, but what influence has he had with distilleries? As far as if a distillery puts out a whiskey that's not up to par, or maybe they tried something that didn't work the way it was intended, and Ralfy reviews it and puts it into his words and puts it out there to 60, 70, 80,000, subscribers at the time. Did that distillery listen? That would be interesting to gauge. Yeah.
I hope there's something inside me that hopes that Ralfy has consultancy work. He's got his hand in shaping things and doing things, and guiding expressions and releases and things like that. That would be kind of cool. That would be very cool.
Yep.
And
well,
I mean,
congratulations. I'll let you go on to your next guest. Probably they're sitting there waiting patiently. But congratulations to Ralfy on that 100,000 subscriber mark, and hope to see you there someday. And hope to meet you in person as well, Ralfy.
And we'll catch you a bit later in the stream, hopefully, Scott. Thanks for dropping in.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for having me, Roy.
Cheers. Now, I think that everybody knows Scott. He is one half of the Scotch Test Dummies. The other half is Bart, and the two of them together go out twice a week. They put a world whiskey. No, they put a world whiskey out on a Saturday, and they put an American whiskey out on a Wednesday every week. They often do live streams and live shows, and that tends to go out on a Sunday night as well. And I'm sure that everybody that's in this stream right now knows who the Scotch Test Dummies are. But if you don't, you need to get connected with them. They're just fabulous guys to watch. Yeah, so that's quite interesting. What Scott, I kind of started there by saying that Ralfy was maybe one of their influences, but he's just come out and said, no, actually, Ralfy was the influence. He was the inspiration for starting that channel, which is kind of funny. I always felt a wee bit intimidated, and I never imagined that I would actually end up putting myself this side of the camera on YouTube. I never considered that I would be that type of person. And anytime I did think about it, I would look at Ralfy, and then I just come away going, no, I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to be able to speak about whiskey the way he does. I'm never going to have that ability, that knowledge. But of course, you don't have to. You just have to, I suppose, bring it in your own way, a different way. We can't all be Ralfy, I guess. But yeah, I continue to enjoy his videos. I continue to watch them. I think it's becoming tougher, if I'm absolutely honest, because of the amount of content that's out there for whiskey generally on YouTube and blogs, Twitter feeds, Instagram feeds, everything. I tend to find that I'm more and more in front of a screen, and it's quite tricky. But when I do go in and I watch a Ralfy video again, I'm still reminded just how awesome it is to witness what he's been doing. But I didn't just want to join or join together whiskey tubers in this stream. What I also wanted to do was reach out to a couple of Ralfy fans. One of them has managed to join us so far. I'm not very sure how we'll get on with the other one, but there's a couple of them that I've reached out to, and both were willing to step forward. And these guys are not whiskey tubers. They don't sit in front of a camera. They're whiskey folk, they're whiskey heads. I'm sure you'll recognize both of these guys. And the first one you'll certainly recognize. He's a blogger. He is an Instagrammer. He's active on Twitter. He's very, very active on YouTube. He comments on the videos. He's always in the live streams. He's always contributing positive content. His blog is super to read again, and he's just rekindled that in the last few months. And I would like to invite in somebody that I consider a friend as well. I had the pleasure of being introduced to this guy last year. It is Scott Munro, otherwise known as Kilted Moose.
Hello there, Roy. How are you doing?
Nice, Scott. Nice to welcome you in, my friend. Nice to welcome you in. And I did actually forget to mention one thing that you're very, very good at. I was looking at it today, and that's on your Instagram feed as well. So just before we get into Ralfy, I thought, I'm under the impression that you're a journalist, right?
I am, yeah, I am.
So what do you do? Is that a specific kind of journalism? Is it?
Yeah, it's I'm a music journalist. So I write for mostly rock music publications.
Wow.
And I've done that for the last 4 or 5 years. And before that, I've spent my entire working life in newspapers. But I made the jump to music stuff about 4 or 5 years ago now, yeah.
And you're enjoying that? That's working out for you then?
Oh, yeah, it's great. It's good fun, yeah. I really like it, yeah.
That sounds like the cool gig, if I'm honest.
Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's, like any job, but it's good. Yeah, I enjoy it. I think it's great. I work with a good team as well.
Yeah. I think I've just had a flag, a message coming through. I think I have just had a super chat through. Wow, from Scott at Scotch Test Dummies. So not only is in here actually contributing to my stream, he's actually contributing to the funds as well. Scott, you're an absolute gentleman. Thank you very much. Just on the super chat thing is, if anybody kind of wants to have an absolutely burning question that must absolutely be answered, I see that everybody's kind of highlighting the Aqvavitae, which is absolutely the right thing to do, and I welcome it. And I'm getting these questions fed through here, but because I've got maybe 5-6 guests tonight all coming in to talk about Ralfy, that might be kind of better on a Thursday night type live stream. But if you've got a burning question that you have to have answered, Super Chat's the way to do it. And even if it's to a guest or to me directly, I promise you I won't miss those questions. So does that mean in your job then, Scott, as music journalist, that you must be doing photography as well?
No, it's just purely words, no photography. But I've always had an interest in photography and stuff like that. And yeah, I just snap any old nonsense and put it up on Instagram. And yeah, I've always got a keen eye.
So you wouldn't say that your Instagram feed is any old nonsense, because it's awesome. It's really awesome.
That's very kind.
I think you went to Islay for the Fisheel this year or last year in 2017.
I did. My wife and I went for the full week to Islay. We've been going every year. We're booked up for next year as well, but not for the Fisheel. But yeah, we went last year, and it was it was incredible. Had a great. You can't not have a good time in Islay. You know, it's wonderful. It's an absolutely magical place. You know,
it's wonderful.
And if you're a whiskey, you know, get a slight interest in whiskey, it's just incredible. So yeah, loved it. So yeah, I went for a week, and yeah, took photographs of just about every step I took on the island. It was magic.
I wonder if you would agree with me on this. It might be a wee bit controversial, but I'm not sure Fisheel is the right time to travel to Islay anymore if you're a true whiskey head. I find that it's just really struggling to cope the infrastructure now.
Yeah, so I would say that I had never been to the festival before, and I wanted to experience it, and I'm glad I did. I'm not sure I would go back for that time again, because it is just so busy. And we were staying at Lagavulin Bay, so it's great for Lagavulin or Beg, Lafroig. But because you're going to the open days, try to get transport to and from, it's just taxis, and it costs a lot of money to travel around the island. And it's just mobbed. I mean, everywhere you go. I mean, it's a great atmosphere though, because you see the same people every day, and you get to chat to people from all over the world. And it's fantastic. It's a great occasion, but it's so busy. It's just so busy. I think the last time I was in Islay was sorry, Roy. Last time I was in Islay was a bit later in the year. I think it was the end of July. We went last time, and that was a great time. It was much quieter. And but yeah, any time to go. But I would, if you can get there for the festival, it's worthwhile experiencing at least once. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I think you make a good point there. I think if you were going for the camaraderie, the buzz, that kind of international feel and everything, you would definitely get that at the festival. It's crazy. But I think what you miss when you go to the festival is just how much patience that they have for visitors at these distilleries. And when you go slightly in quieter times, you experience the pace of Islay in a very deep way, you know, just how the almost like feel the pace of the island and just let it kind of seep into your veins a little bit. And as you go around the distillery, you realize that they're kind of almost a bit surprised about how crazy all these fans are for the whiskey.
Yeah, I think that. Sorry, Roy.
Sorry, go ahead.
The people there are fantastic. As you say, they're very patient with people asking questions, demanding drams. But what I loved about Islay, when you're driving through the island, any car that's coming towards you, everyone waves at you, and I think that's such a nice thing. You don't see it in any city you live in, but everyone in Islay waves to you as they drive past, which I think is a lovely touch as well.
Superb, it is. And if anybody messages me and said, "Oh, Roy, I'm traveling to Scotland. What distillery should I go and visit? Where should I go? Which region should I head for?" Really, you just go north of the Central Belt and you can't go wrong. There are things south, of course, and there are things around the Central Belt. But I would always say that if you're a real whiskey head, and if you do like peaty whiskies, I have to be honest, and there's only a couple of distilleries that'll hold your interest if you don't like peat. Islay is the pinnacle. Islay is just such a wonderful destination to go to. It is the whiskey capital of the world as far as I'm concerned, having not been to Kentucky, if I'm honest.
No, it's great. I think when we went as well, we spent the weekend before in Campbellton, and got a ferry from just up the road. So it was great. Managed to get to Springbank, Glen Scotia, had a wee look around the Cadenheads as well. So that kind of, then across on the ferry. Yeah, it was great. Absolutely fantastic.
So let's get to Ralfy. How long have you been watching Ralfy, Scott?
Well, you were talking earlier on, Roy, that you started watching it about 2012, and I think I was about the same time. I was just looking for some recommendations on whiskies to buy, because as we all know, going into any whiskey store, even if you know a little bit about whiskey, can be daunting because there's so many bottles, so many independent bottlers. You don't want to spec, it's an expensive hobby we have, and you don't want to buy a bad bottle. So I wanted just to do a bit of research online, and I came across Ralphie's channel, and then became instantly hooked, and would take notes of things that he liked, and just to kind of educate myself about whiskey as well, and what he had to say, he kind of guided me along certain ways as well, because as I say, without any other outlets like that, and someone who's clearly passionate about the product as well, I thought there was nothing else like it, and I just thought, yeah, this is great. It's given me an insight into the whiskey industry, into bottles, into independent bottlers, into how how to buy stuff, and and then I subscribed straight away, and I've been watching since 2012. And I think, as I said before the show, that I think I've watched every Ralphy video at least once, and quite several. If sometimes I buy a bottle that he's reviewed in the past, I'll go back and have a dram while I'm watching him talking about it, and so he's really kind of guided me. And what he's taught me about whiskies is immense.
Yeah, I think it's often, it feels a wee bit like having a virtual whiskey pal that you can just kind of reach out to and invite round to your house exactly when it suits you.
Absolutely.
I know it might seem a bit silly, but that's kind of how it feels sometimes. I want to give a shout out to the guys at Malt Review who's just sent through a super chat. Malt Review, in case you don't know, Malt Review is one of the world's biggest and most visited English whiskey blogs. They review a ton of whiskies on there. They review all sorts of Scotch whiskies, single malts, blends. They review world whiskies. I have to say, it's probably one of the most concise websites out there. And if you find on Malt Review a whiskey that they are rating highly, like 8, 9 out of 10 or above, I haven't seen a 10 out of 10 yet. I think that's what they're holding out for. You know it's a damn good dram. And if you haven't acquainted yourself with the guys, it's Whiskey Rover is the editor, and Mark Newton, I think, is his partner in crime. There are a few other guys as well that are active on Twitter that contribute as well. But I've been meaning to give Malt Review a shout out for a wee while now. It's one of the websites that I use. I like the opinion on there, and I like the editorial as well. Kind of cool little website. Do you read Malt Review, Scott?
I do, yeah. I read. I mean, I read most. I mean, if I'm not watching the YouTube gang, I'm reading about whiskey online as well. And there's so much information out there. There's so much great content as well. So yeah, I'm a fan. As I say, I read everything I can get my hands on.
Yeah, absolutely. The same as me. Absolutely, we're kindred spirits. And tell us about how we managed to hook up last year, because that was a wonderful experience.
It was, yeah. So Ralphy was doing a tasting at a Glasgow liquor store called the Good Spirits Company. I'm sure a lot of people in the UK will have heard of it. It's a great store, and they have regular tasting sessions. But every so often, Ralfy turns up, and he brought along 6 amazing drams from his own collection. And the money raised from that, and as it is for most Ralfy tasting things he does, all the money raised went to charity, went to a food bank charity. And so, Roy, you very kindly gave me a shout and said you'd a spare ticket. Would I like to come along with you and the Whiskey Rev? And it was great, yeah. So the 3 of us spent a fantastic afternoon with each other in the company of Ralfy, tasting some incredible whiskey. And I seem to remember that the 3 of us were the last to leave. We kind of had to be sort of gently escorted out the door because everyone else had left about 20 minutes ago.
That's right. We just kind of hanging about. But we found, because he was such a gentleman, because he was so nice to talk to, because he was generous with his time, we just, certainly I'm probably talking about myself here, I just kind of got into it and I just started to enjoy it. And it wasn't until the shop staff, who obviously we know, they came out and they're just kind of hanging about, and then we realized and went, oh, okay. And then Ralfy just went, thanks, nice to speak to you boys. And as we walked out the door, we realized, wow, we're the last 3 guys to leave.
I know. It was a Sunday night as well, or Sunday late afternoon, wasn't it?
But it was the whiskies that he brought along were absolutely tremendous whiskies.
Incredible.
Yeah,
a 42-year-old Glen Grant. But
right.
I had the pleasure of meeting Ralfy. I think it was in 2013, I think it was. And I was waiting for my bus in Glasgow city centre to come home after work, and I saw Ralfy walking on the other side of the road. And I thought, do I go and say hello to him, or do I stay here wait for my bus? And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go over and say hello. So I ran across the road, and he very kindly spent 10 minutes chatting to me about whiskey in a kind of rainy, cold Glasgow night. And that was great as well. And just said goodbye, and off he went. You know, so one of his regular trips to Glasgow from his home. So that was really nice as well. I thought that's a nice thing to do, like a complete stranger approaching you in the street to say, hi, I know you from YouTube. But he was lovely. He was fantastic. He was a really nice guy to talk to.
He was wonderful. And I think the two of us are going to get a chance to hook up again. We're fortunate enough, Scott, we live in the same town. And I know we've made promises we need to hook up, and we can.
Yeah, and I've got a bunch of samples to send your way as well, Roy. So yeah, that needs to happen soon.
Well, now that I know that, it's going to happen a lot quicker, isn't it?
Absolutely. No, I look forward to it, Roy. It'd be great.
Listen, my friend, stay in the call, and if there's an opportunity to grab you and pull you in for something, maybe the quiz, I don't know, a bit later.
We'll see how that goes.
It's nice to have you. And if you need to drop off, no problem as well. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, my friend.
Cheers.
Cheers. I need an assistant to do this stuff. I really do. There's a bunch of comments coming through. My wife is scraping things out of the comments tonight. The Whiskey Rev is not available tonight. He's a bit gutted to miss this. But my wife is scraping comments and feeding them through to me. Malt Reviews saying, where's the hat, Roy? There you go, fella. I can't pull off Ralfy very well, but I brought along the hat. I wasn't wearing it at the start of the stream because it's so bloody warm in this room with the lights. But there you go, just for you. I've got a question from Christopher Malloy. Do you think the industry listens to Ralfy? They'd be stupid not to. I don't think they listen. I know that they listen. Not all of them, but there are people in the industry that absolutely listen. They're watching. My wife is correcting me and saying it's Numenium. I apologize if I pronounced your name wrong earlier. Go Habs is asking, is Ralfy watching? And Whiskey in the Six is replying, I bet he is. I don't know. I think that Ralfy is just kind of happy doing his own thing. And he's kind of made that quite clear that he's not kind of that interested, from what I can tell, to kind of get involved and collaborate in things. He just likes to do things at his own pace, at his own kind of, as he would say, steampunk way. But it would be nice to think that he watches some of the content that's out there that he's inspired. You know, all of these channels that are kind of traveling along behind him in his wake. It would be nice to think that he watches some of it. I hope he is anyway. Connor Strang is confirming that each year his jacket is a different color, which is kind of cool. Malt Review is also saying, Aqvavitae, it's worth discussing Ralfy's refusal to review NAS knowledge statements, which I don't agree with. Yeah, I get your point there, Rover, because what Ralfy did is a couple of years ago when he announced his Whiskey of the Year, he basically said, as from next year, I'm not going to review any more of these non-age statement whiskies. And we've kind of all suffered at the hands of non-age statements, right, where we've kind of bought a whiskey, brought it home and went, oh, something's not right. This is not what I expected. And often that kind of, you disconnect with the whole non-age statement concept. But non-age statements are not just that. I think Ralfy's stance was kind of to stand up and hope to take a stance against the industry to say, look, what you're doing is abusing non-age statements now. You're abusing what they stand for, what they've always stood for. And what you're doing is you're trying to sell people things that look the same as their age-stated equivalents, but they're clearly not. They're younger, and that's a lack of transparency. So I kind of get where he's coming from in that. And you know what? It's his channel and it's his outlet, and he can kind of do what he wants. And he's standing up there and he's saying, I'm not going to review non-age statements. So if you happen to be looking for a feedback or an opinion on a non-age statement whiskey, this isn't the place to come, which I think is absolutely fine. I've got loads of non-age statement whiskies, and some of them are very, very good. So yes, Ralphy's not the place I go to for those reviews. Russell is saying Ralphy's yarn about the statue in Glasgow, which is always covered with an orange and white traffic cone, was an absolute classic. Well, anybody that's ever been to Glasgow, they would have seen that very statue. It's kind of it's become a bit of a Glasgow identity. It's kind of funny. Rafael Ortega, fantastic to see you watching again, Rafael. It's good to have you in. Aqvavitae, I travelled to Scotland a couple of years ago after discovering his channel. So he's a great ambassador for Scottish tourism as well, and made me research whiskey more. I even visited the Bonaccord in Glasgow because of him. Yeah, the Bonaccord is the place you're most likely to see Ralphy hang out. That's where our whiskey meets up once a month. And if you walk into the Bonaccord, immediately on your left as you walk towards the bar, there's a canvas print up there, and it's Ralphy just kind of standing there with his lumberjack jacket on, looking down on the crowd and kind of holding a glass up. It's quite cool. It's quite cool. And the Bonaccord has just a fabulous selection of drams. You're going to be spoiled for choice if you visit Paul and the team there at the Bonaccord. They've got wonderful selection of whiskies. They're 35 CL, full measure pours, and very, very reasonably priced as well. Hoagie Bear is saying, any of you tried the Ralphy thing with the magnet under the whiskey to influence its taste? Now, somebody mentioned this to me at the club one night, but I've not seen that video, and I don't know what you're referring to. So the answer there is clearly no, but that's still very cool. It's one to kind of look and watch. So he's saying that if he puts the magnet under the whiskey, is he saying that he can get compounds in the whiskey to react with the magnet or something to change the flavour? Because Ralphy is a bit quirky. We have to remember he is a bit quirky, right? But still, you know, explore it and try it first and then make a call on it. And then finally, Malt Reviews coming back on my comment about scoring, and Rover saying, I think it's Rover. If it's you, Mark, I apologise. Malt Review, think we've only given 2 10s so far. Neither from me. That doesn't surprise me, Rover, not at all. One was a Bruichladdich and another was a single cask from Holland. Wow. What about that? I guess we could check that out. So there you go. And Malt Review, there's only ever been 2 full marks, 2 10 out of 10s. Superb. Okay, who have I got next? I'm just going to try and get through the guests as quickly as I can. I appreciate that I always overrun, and I just like kind of going with the pace, however the pace is, and sometimes that's a bit too slow and sometimes it's a bit too quick. But right now, I want to draw on somebody else who's a bit of a friend and support to me in the UK. He's a good guy. He's a very good guy, very patient guy, very into whiskey, very studying whiskey. He's very new into it. He's only a couple of years into it. And he just took to the airwaves basically to share a journey and to kind of review whiskies one by one at his point in his whiskey journey at that time to the best of his ability and carry forward. He has just broken 1,000 subscribers, which he deserves fully. And I'd like to just bring in my friend, if he can unmute himself and introduce himself, Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey. Hello, buddy. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, Vin here from No Nonsense Whiskey. Thanks for having me on, Roy. Absolute pleasure to be here and talk about one of the guys who got me into whiskey YouTube and whiskey in general, really.
See, that's interesting because I've never actually asked you that. I don't think I've asked you what got you into whiskey. Are you going to sit there and cite that actually it was Ralphy as well?
Well, it was a bit of a weird one because I decided I wanted to get into whiskey a good few years before I saw Ralphy. And I drank whiskey, and all I drank was stuff you could get in the supermarket. And I genuinely didn't know that anything else was made worldwide or in Scotland or whatever. And then one day I just decided to, a big fan of YouTube, have been for years, I decided to check out what was on YouTube, and I found this guy sitting in the middle of the Irish Sea, and just started to watch. And funny story, I used to have a Fitbit, you know, these things that you walk around with to catch your steps. And when I hadn't reached my steps for the day, I used to pace around the living room and watch his videos, because there would be about half an hour. That'd get me about 1,500 steps. And I used to just walk around and just watch whenever I didn't catch the steps.
So you were using YouTube videos almost like a podcast, right? Or almost like but you were watching him as well.
Just want before you carry on there, I'd just like to highlight Tom R has just given you $100 on your chat thing, your super chat.
I don't even know how to respond to that. Tom, you're some kind of superstar. Tom is one of the biggest supporters of not just what I'm doing here, but the whiskey community in general. I'm absolutely staggered, Tom. He's written here, cheers, Roy. Your streams and comments on chats have helped fill my head with Scotch knowledge, and you have saved me more than this super chat tip. Cheers to all the whiskey lovers. If I was a Scotch Test Dummy, you are a super. I'm speechless, Scott. Tom. You're a super Scotch god. $100. I mean, with exchange just now, Vin, that's about 100 quid.
Probably a bit more.
Wow, that's just. I'm flabbergasted, Tom. I actually want to invite you in to the chat now, and just that's wonderful, Tom. Whatever I buy with that money is going to be something very nice, and I hope I get the opportunity to share it with you. There you go. Thank you very much. Thank you, my friend. Any question you want to ask, you get it answered for the rest of the chat now. You're some kind of star. That's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Sorry to interrupt you there, Vin, but I was talking about you using Ralfy as almost like a workout podcast, right?
Yeah, definitely. And it's, like I said, it's kind of what got me into the WhiskyTube thing, because it was like Ralfy at the time was pretty much the only person doing it. You know, like even Scotch Test Dummies were like below 1,000, I think, when I first caught onto them. And I just thought, this is something I can do. I can do that, even though I'm no expert. I've never pretended to be. And like you said, it's just kind of documenting my own journey. And then discovered how difficult it really is when you edit yourself for the first time. It's just insane.
Absolutely. I remember the first video I ever did. It's still on. It's still here. It's still live. And I often kind of flirt with the idea taking it down, because I can actually see the fear in my own eyes at certain points in that video. But I remember sitting down and editing that video and putting it together, and I edit bits and pieces of videos for work and things like that. It's fine, but I was really struck by how difficult it was to edit myself. It's absolutely soul destroying. So I know exactly where you're coming from, and the Whiskey Rev came round that night and we sat together and I showed him the video and I said, so it can't go live. I can't put this live. And he was like, don't be stupid. There's nothing wrong. Let it go live. What's the worst that can happen? And it did. It went live, and I'm very grateful that it did, because I'm having so much fun out of it now. But I still have to be honest. I still am uncomfortable editing myself. And I don't know, you're 2 years down the line. You're quite a way further down than me. Are you still suffering from the same thing?
No, I actually remember saying to you when we first started talking, I think I was your 15th subscriber or something like that.
You were subscriber 11.
Subscriber 11, even better.
Forget it.
And you messaged me and said, I need to know, does it get easier when you're on camera? And I said, well, it is weird, but I watch my own videos back like 5 or 6 times before they even go live, just to make sure they're working on the computer, on the iPad, on the phone, whatever. And eventually you just get used to hearing your own voice, and so now I'm completely fine with it.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm surprised, because I'll be walking around the house and the kids will have picked up an iPad or something like that, and it's open at my channel, because I'm constantly checking the state of the subs and the views and things like that. And they just grab it and they just tap on a video, and suddenly you're walking around the house and you just hear your own voice coming out, and it's quite jarring. You go, oh, and then you realize the kids are on the iPad again. But it's an interesting thing you pick up talking about editing. If we get back to Ralfy, I think he's a bit better at it now. But do you remember a time when Ralfy? I mean, we're not even talking about he does minimal editing. He literally did none. His video started with the movement of the camera as he pressed the record button, and then he would toddle around the front of the camera, around the other side of where he was sat, and sit down. He'd do the full review, which in the early days were way less than 10 minutes. Then he'd say, cheers, thank you. He'd get up and he'd toddle back round and then switch the camera off again.
Yeah, and actually, surprisingly, there's a lot of whiskey tubers that are guilty of it and were guilty of it. Like a couple of people, I'm going to call some people out here. Rob Whiskey in the Six, he used to do it.
Yep.
The original Whiskey Wednesday guy, Joe, my friend, he used to do it as well. And I remember saying to them, I was like, even when I got onto Joe, I used to say to him, you do realise that YouTube has its own proprietary editing. You can just bookend, boom, boom, done. And that's like an infinite improvement on your quality, straight up.
Well, I'm going to call you out now. Because you are the YouTube geek.
Yeah.
You just mentioned there that it's got the kind of thing. I think that you probably, if I was to give you a mark out of 10 for your enthusiasm for whiskey, it would be probably 9.5. But if I was to give you a mark out of 10 for your enjoyment of understanding the inner workings of YouTube, I would have to give you 10 out of 10.
I'll take it. I'll take it. One of my, apart from whiskey, the only things I watch on YouTube are how YouTube works and watching other people fall over on Fail Army. That's all I watch.
Mm-mm. But you do watch Ralfy.
I do watch Ralfy every time.
I might be putting you in the spot here because not everybody has a favourite like I do, but do you have a favourite Ralfy video?
I actually have two. I have two favourite Ralfy videos. One from this year and one that really got me into him. The first one, I even made a note of the numbers. First one was the number 600, which was his Rosebank on a windy day when he went outside for the first time I've ever seen him go outside. Actually, Eric Gilbert in the chat mentioned that earlier. But it was just fantastic. He took himself outside. He didn't take a cigar. He says he actually prefers coffee. The wind was just insane, and it was driving him crazy, and it was just hilarious from start to finish. And I think my second one was this year, his 666, where he got his brother to come on as well. And he reverted from this kind of Scotch god to a brother straight away on screen. It was brilliant.
That's right. And it's a very interesting thing because a lot of people don't know that his brother is a big YouTuber as well. In fact, his brother's got like, way over 250,000 subs. He's got like 300,000 odd subs, right? And when the two of them get together, there's a very obvious comfort. There's that brother dynamic is very, very obvious. I'm quite taken by it. And I think the view you're talking about, if I'm right, if I recollect properly, well, it's the one where they review alcopops and things. Is that right?
Yeah, it's bad liquor, they call it.
Yeah. That's right. That's the one. And I remember him and his brother, and Ralphie's kind of bickering with his brother and going, and things like this. And I don't know if you've got a brother, but I have, and it's very, very familiar to me to see that kind of behavior.
Yeah, I have a younger brother who is taller and bigger than me now, unfortunately, and he knows it. So when we get together, even now I'm like 33, he's 31, and we just fight. We fight all the time, punching each other in the kidneys and all sorts. It's terrible.
Well, the thing about that is that the brother thing is that there's just you can do that. You can take the mickey out of each other like nobody else can. You can make fun of each other. And it's all underwritten by this kind of really deep understanding, this kind of deep love that's kind of, none of that is really going to affect anything, which is kind of cool. And that comes across between Clive and Ralfy. It's very cool. And in fact, it was because of watching some of that stuff that took me over to Clive's videos. And generally, most of his content is kind of more kind of tech engineering type focused. But there's some content on his channel. And I shared one recently with you guys, didn't I? Did you see that?
I did, yeah.
It's just really funny. Go on to Ralphie's brother's channel. It's called bigclive.com and look for his most popular video ever. It's an absolute blast of a video to see. It's really funny. It's really funny. Anyway, my friend, I'm so glad you could join and enthuse about the man himself. I think, am I right? You've broken 1,000 subs?
I have, yeah, and actually smashed it thanks to Scott and the Scotch Test Dummies doing a live stream the other day. I've just gone up to something like 1,030, which is just insane.
Yeah, it's wonderful, and you deserve it, buddy, because I have to say that every single week on a Thursday, bang, up pops a new no-nonsense whiskey video. Your dedication, your regularity, and I think you're planning to up your game. Are you doing a Monday, Thursday now?
Yeah, I'm doing a Monday, Thursday. Already started. No plans to cease on that. So if I can keep, like I have done with the Thursdays, no plans to not do it. So it should just go all the way through.
Yeah. Well, whatever you plan for the future, I wish you the very best. I look forward to a Thursday. I look forward to the Vin installment coming out. Of course, secretly, I'm a patron, so I get it a wee bit early.
Yeah, maybe a day.
Yeah, and it's a pleasure to have you in. I always enjoy chatting to you, and I like hanging out with you, big guy. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Cheers,
fella.
See you later.
Okay, let's get back to some of these contents that's wheeling in. I just want to say another big thank you to Tom. It's just such a wonderful gesture, my friend. I know you've got plans to come into this country, and I hope I get a chance to extend a handshake and share a few drams with you. That would be wonderful, Tom. Thank you again. Hoagie Bear is saying, Aqvavitae, you could buy a whole bottle of a certain 18-year-old Ben Nevis for the money. The Berlin shop guys are coming to Glasgow for a whiskey fair in February, actually. Are you talking about the Ben Nevis that you sent to the Scotch for Dummies and then it gets sent on to the Scotch Test Dummies? I have to be honest, Hoagie, I'm curious to try it. I am curious to try it. So if we ever hook up and do that sample exchange, that would be one to try. Whiskey Throttle. Hi, my friend. Hi, Whiskey Throttle. Good to see you in. Hope you list your guest below. Hope you list all your guests below. Oops, sorry. I didn't see that in context of the chat, so I'm a wee bit curious as to what that is. Sorry, Whiskey Throttle. I'm picking this up as it's been sent through to me. I'll try and come back to that. Russell is saying Ralphie's Ardbeg 10 re-review at the beach is a classic. Yeah. And the one with his brother and the Alcopops likewise loved it. That's the one that Vin and I have just been talking about, yeah. Hoyt Hemphill is saying, love the review, and he spilled his dram. Stopped him, picked up the tray and poured it back in the glass. That's right. True Scotsman. That's right. I know the one. It was windy as hell, wasn't it? And he was trying to find a place to balance his glass and spilled his drink. Craig Dollier. Hi, Craig. Nice to have you in, my friend. I'm currently wearing the same tee, Vin. The same T-shirt as Vin's wearing. Okay, that's the... what's it called? The Swally Shirts T-shirt, isn't it? Where it's the kind of Pink Floyd style design. Lynn, they were all asking about Vin's T-shirt. I think you can buy that T-shirt from Swally Shirts. Hoagie Bear is saying, one of my favourite of Ralphie's is the one about champagne, when he put peated malt in it, and the other dude went from no to, it works, Ralphie, it really works. I've not seen that one, Hoagie Bear. That's one to look out for. I wonder what it's called. Is it a champagne review? And Toon Van Rouge is saying, the most interesting about Ralphie, I think, is the T&E reviews that show how the whiskey can change in the years. I think I know what you're referring to there, Toon. Whiskey Throttle is saying, Aqvavitae, you can tag your guest sites below this video, maybe after it's not live. Of course, yes, absolutely. I'll link all my guests, where they are and how you can find them after this. It's not easy to do that in advance. Jason Whiskey Wise is saying, Aqvavitae, my favourite one from Ralphie, has to be the one where he went to Glengoyne and toured the distillery and interviewed the stillman. Yes, I remember that. And is that not the one where, I mean, I can understand what the stillman is saying, but I think it would be difficult for people outside of these borders to understand the conversation. And I've just had a super chat, as if the guy's not nice enough. I've just had a super chat through from Vin at No Nonsense Whiskey. Look terrible next to Tom. No, you don't, Vin, not at all. Thank you very much. Keep up the stellar work, Roy. Thank you very much. And you too, my friend. It's superb to know you. This is very, very cool. I have waiting in the wings. Now, I've sent a link out to a couple other guys as well. And I know they've had trouble connecting tonight. The guys that are in here also had trouble connecting, but they have managed to get in. But there's one or two other guys. And I'm going to try during this next guest as he's talking. So I'm hoping my next guest can do a wee bit of a monologue so that I can have some time to go and try and invite in the other two that are missing, because we're at the hour mark now, and see if I can get those two guys in just to finish off nicely. The next guest, I am on record as saying that I kind of feel like I've got an emotional attachment to this guy, and that's not rational. It's not reasonable, and I understand that it's not, because I've never met him. I've only ever had the pleasure of speaking to him, but I watch a ton of his videos, despite the fact that his output is probably the most prolific output in the whiskey fabric. He puts out a ton of videos, and he does it in a very, very unique way. This guy I got into watching maybe about 2 years ago. I started to watch him. I felt initially, the first way I felt about Ralfy, just curious, and then very quickly just devoured the way this guy treated whiskey. What he'll do is he'll sit in front of his webcam, he'll pour a dram, he'll quite openly admit to you that it's his 5th or 6th dram of the night, that he's having a flight, and he'll review it. And he reviews it in such a way that I don't experience other reviewers doing it. He's very, very unique. I love to sit, if I can find the same dram as he's reviewing and sip it along with him, the things that he can unlock in that whiskey for me are quite incredible. He's a wonderful guy, and this is the first time he's been on my channel. I'd like to introduce my friend, Foodquig. How are you, Andy? All right? You may need to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I've unmuted myself, and thanks for having me on, Roy. It's a distinct pleasure. My voice is kind of hoarse because I was at a whiskey festival last night, and trying to speak over the rhubarb and be heard is kind of difficult, so my vocal cords are kind of all messed up. But seeing as we were talking about Ralfy and his Red Label video, that's one of my favorites too. So I got to pour a Red Label in honor of that particular video where he compared the old ones, an old one from the, I think it was from the 60s even, and a contemporary one of the Red Label Johnny Walker.
Yep.
So
it's actually my it's on a playlist of mine called the best YouTube whiskey ever, and it's that comparison video. And because that video is responsible for sending me down a road that I'm forever trolling auctions looking for old 50s, 60s, 70s bottles of whiskey to compare them to the modern contemporary ones, and that squarely lies at Ralphie's feet. It's his fault for doing that, so it's kind of nice that you like that as well. But how do you sip Johnny Walker Red?
I'm doing so right now, actually.
It's interesting because I was on I've recalled this story before, and I've probably done it on a video, I'm fairly sure I have, but I was on a train trip from London to Glasgow, and it was the same price to upgrade to first class, so of course I took it. And the woman came along with the food and things and offered me a drink, and I said, "Have you any whiskey?" She said, "Yes, of course." It was completely quiet. I was the only guy in the carriage, so she turned up with 4 minis of Johnny Walker Red Label. And of course I looked at it and immediately I got a jolt of horror. I was like, oh no. And then I thanked her graciously, and then kind of just went on my way, just kind of eating the food. And then I poured and started to sip Johnny Walker Red Label. And of course it was young and it was rough and it was not quite what I was used to. But by the time I finished that 4th mini and we pulled into Glasgow Central Station, I was declaring Johnny Walker Red as the best whiskey on the planet.
It's not as bad as some people say it is. You just have to adjust yourself to the flavor. And I find myself adjusting all over the place because I'm drinking, blends. I'm drinking malts. I'm drinking bourbons. I'm drinking ryes. I'm drinking Canadian whiskey. It's always a shift, and you got to just adjust to that particular thing. I know this is not everybody's wheelhouse, but I'll drink it.
The thing is, you make a good point, because I just need to shout out my friend Scott, who's just been on. Scott Munro has also just super chatted me, and which is just a really, really nice gesture. Scott, I'm going to keep that in my back pocket, and I'm going to buy us both a couple of drams when we hook up in the city centre soon. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, but the Johnny Walker Red Label thing is, I think that you cannot open a Johnny Walker Red Label and pour it and taste it and say this is rubbish. That's just too damn easy. You have to review it in the context of how the bloody whiskey is supposed to be served. And if you compare it against a 12-year-old single malt or a $100 bottle of single malt or bourbon or whatever else, you're doing it wrong. That's not what it's meant for. You're absolutely, it's meant as a foundation, as a base for mixers on top. And the fact that actually, if you're in a pinch, you can sip it and it's not that offensive, I agree with you completely, is quite a thing to achieve. Wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And because it's been around for so long, you know, it's one of the top selling whiskeys in the world. So why is that? Because it's good for something.
Absolutely. It's number 4. It's very well marketed, of course. It's number 4 in the world, and the only things that beat it are another 3 Indian whiskies. And it's quite funny. They say that Johnny Walker Red Label, they sell more Johnny Walker Red Label in India than Johnny Walker actually make.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess, I mean, I've heard that empty Johnny Walker Red bottles in India can actually be used as currency. You know, you can actually trade empty Johnny Walker bottles for things. The Indians absolutely love their whiskey. I'm terrified of the day that we reach a trade agreement with India. The borders are opened for open trade, and suddenly there's no whiskey left in Scotland for us anymore.
It's funny that last night at the Whiskey Festival, some guy was talking about the French consuming a lot of whiskey. I was at the, I think it was called Amérique booth. It's this French whiskey from Brittany. And we were tasting this stuff. And one guy comes in and says, "Oh yeah, the French like whiskey. They drink more whiskey than anybody else. And the Scots." And I looked at him in the Japanese, and I looked at him and I said, "What about the Indians?" You know? And he was floored. He didn't know what to say, because it was true. The Indians consume more than anyone else.
That's right. That's right. I mean, obviously they take care of their domestic market domestically, but they're still a massive export target. It's quite frightening how much whiskey, Scotch whiskey, that country could soak up if it ever actually went ahead. Right? So,
and a lot
tell me about
Ralfy
and how tell me how you connected with Ralfy and what Ralfy means to you out there on the west coast of Canada.
I'd gladly do that. I've been on YouTube since 2006, and I just thought it was too amazing that ordinary people like me, you know, just an average guy, could make motion pictures and broadcast them to the world. And I thought that was just so amazing that I had to get in on it. And so I bought myself a digital camera that could do video, and I just went nuts. Anyways, a few years went by, and I've enjoyed whiskey since I was in my late teens, but I didn't know how to appreciate it. And about 5 years ago or so, I was interested in just tasting whiskey, and I always had a dram or two after work because I couldn't drink beer anymore because I'm diabetic. So I had to get rid of the carbs and the sugars and all that. So I switched to whiskey, and you know, it was nice having a whiskey after work. I would have a Glenfiddich, or I would have, you know, just whatever was there. And Grant's, I was drinking Grant's like it was going out of style. Or should I say, you know, a couple drams after work, you know.
I've seen some of your early videos, and I remember, you know, the balls, right?
Exactly. And then, you know, I started the Foodquig channel actually to talk about food, and we would go to restaurants, me and my ex, and we would taste things and we would try things. And I thought, hey, wouldn't it be nice to have a dram after dinner? So we've had our dinner, and could I order a Glenmorangie, you know? And we started incorporating that into the videos, having that dram after dinner. And then I wanted to know more. So I, of course, searched YouTube for, you know, let's say I tried a whiskey and I wanted to know something more about it. I was curious. So what did I do? I would search the name of the whiskey, whichever it was, and there would be Ralfy. There's Ralfy talking, with his malt mention. He'd say a multi-millionaire maniacs, and that was a malt mention put in by whoever. And then he would start talking about a whiskey. And when he did, he sort of drew me in. He was enthralling. I was just watching this guy, and like you, I got sucked in. And I thought, well, what's he tasting? I got to see if I can get that in the store.
Yeah.
So I would run to the store the next day or the next weekend, and I would find that whiskey and try it. And sometimes I would even be drinking along with him. And the man has had a big influence on my appreciation of whiskey. Because before it was just, if you look at my early videos, I got a shot glass, I chuck it down, and that's the end of that. Oh, that's really good stuff, man. That's how I was. But now I can sit here and I can, take a long, slow sniff of it. And if anything, I've learned how to relax from watching Ralfy, because he takes a while to, talk about it. So I'm indebted to him for teaching me how to appreciate whiskey instead of just slam it down and get drunk.
That's interesting you say that, because I started this before as I was introducing you and bringing you in. I was sincere in every word that I said there. And Ralphie's Johnny Walker Red label in my playlist is alongside one of your videos. Can I talk about one of your videos for a second? Would that be okay?
Go ahead.
So there was a video that you did, and after I watched it, it affected me. It really, really affected me, and I shared it with the Whiskey of my friend. It affected him immediately. He was watching it, and he was just like, wow. And it's you when you do a review of a Laphroaig Lower. And if I can be permitted just to spend 60 seconds to talk through that video, it's just, this is what you're talking about, being a regular guy on YouTube, and this is what YouTube does very, very well, and it could only happen in YouTube. But you bring up this bottle of Laphroaig Lower, and you tell us that you've just bought.
Let me grab one.
Yeah, if you still have it.
I have another one. This isn't the first one, but I got another one. I was able to get this a couple months ago, and it's about it's less than half, so it should be just ideal.
It should be in a perfect state. But you broke the seal on this Laphroaig Lower, and you hadn't tried it before. And
Right.
you said you made a couple of admissions, and you said that it's your 5th dram that night, that you were on a flight, and you were going to open this Laphroaig Lower, and it was quite a big deal. You told us how much it was. You told us how much that represented in terms of whiskey purchase for you.
Yes.
You went through it, so that as you're tearing the foil on that, the anticipation's already built up. You admitted that it was the most expensive bottle of whiskey that you'd ever bought. So as you're pouring that dram, we're already like, damn, I hope this is good. I hope he enjoys it. And all you wanted to do was enjoy it as much as your fabled Triplewood, your Laphroaig Triplewood that you loved dearly. And we're just kind of watching as you sink into the chair and sink in. And I'm not going to ruin any more of the video, because I'd like other people to go and watch that video. And I'd love them to be able to watch it. I'd love them to watch it with a glass of Laphroaig Lower. That would be the perfect way to watch that video. But it was absolutely captivating, Foodquig. It was such a good whiskey kind of moment, and you can't watch that in the middle of the day. That's the kind of video that you have to watch when everybody else in the house has gone to bed. There's nothing else to do but sit with a dram of whiskey and your feet up and an iPad or something on your lap and watch that, preferably with headphones. It's fantastic, and I've raved about it to people ever since. Maybe that seems silly to you, I don't know.
No, it was my pleasure to do that, and sometimes I wonder what it is that I'm doing that you're so enthralled by. I'm just sitting here enjoying a dram.
Well, I think that's exactly it. I think there is absolutely zero present. There's no pretentiousness whatsoever. You're literally just switching on a little letterbox view of you just sitting enjoying a flight of whiskies. And some of those whiskies are whiskies that we'd like to enjoy as well. And it's that kind of vicarious enjoyment thing that's so addictive. And it brings me back to Ralfy as well, because if you look at Ralfy as a person, I mean, the type of personality that Ralfy is very familiar to me. I recognize his personality. And maybe it's because I'm from Glasgow in the west of Scotland. Maybe it's that thing. But I recognize him. And I realize that Ralfy works perfectly in the media of YouTube and in the media of video on YouTube. But he wouldn't necessarily work as a blogger. He wouldn't work as a tweeter. He wouldn't work as a journalist. He wouldn't work as a whiskey analyst or anything. His sweet spot has been found.
I think I'm the same way as him in that regard, because I'm not much of a Twitterer and I'm not much of a blogger. I just go on camera and bring it to you if I can. And hopefully what I'm doing appeals to some people. I think we just crossed the 700 subscriber mark. So
you did. And
yeah.
I think that you are one of the most prolific guys out there. I don't think you promote yourself nearly enough. In fact, you don't promote yourself at all. You're almost ambivalent to subscribers. I mean, the number is just a number to you, right? You don't.
It's just a number. I stopped caring about that about 10 years ago, because, you know, they had the partner program and they had this whole thing going on about who was popular, and I didn't care about popularity. I just wanted to do my thing, and that's still what I'm doing. And you know, there are people talking about, oh, if you do this, you will get more representatives from whiskey companies seeing your videos, and it's whatever. You know, I've had comments from some from Tomatin when I erroneously said what was in the Tomatin legacy, and they corrected me in the comments. And I thought, okay, fine. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know everything. I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy who enjoys whiskey. And yeah. I don't pretend to be anything else. And if you like it, fine. If you don't, that's okay too.
A comment in from Whiskey Throttle. And he's pointed something out, and it strikes a chord with me as well. You know, you admitted that you're just back from the Victoria Whiskey Festival.
Yes, sir.
Are you familiar that there is a Ralfy video where he is attending the Victoria Whiskey Festival?
Yes, I've seen it.
If I recall correctly, I think it's the one where he is interviewed by Mark Gillespie.
I think so. And I saw Mark Gillespie last night.
And that's striking to me when I think about that now, because I think that video is probably 2011, maybe even 2010. And the reason that he was being interviewed, so he'd only been going a year, maybe 2 years max, and the reason that he was being interviewed by Mark Gillespie of WhiskyCast, that's the famous whiskey podcast, the fantastic podcast, the reason that Mark was interviewing him was because that he was an internet phenomenon. He was such a sensation, even just a year or two in. And I guess back then he would only had about maybe 8,000-10,000 subs. Maybe less. And
he was the only guy doing it. He was the only one. When I started watching whiskey videos back in 2013 or so, there was Ralfy and there was Horst Lüning, and Horst was only doing stuff in German. So I could kind of understand, but I ended up watching more Ralfy before Lüning started doing stuff in English.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And I think maybe the success of Ralfy, it would be interesting to ask Horst if that actually had any influence on those guys deciding that they should maybe start an English-speaking channel as well.
I wouldn't doubt it.
We know that the guys at Whisky.com watch Ralfy. How do we know? Because they did a send-up, didn't they? The Sun did an impersonation of Ralfy.
They did a parody with what was it, with Lefroy 10, and he added water and added water and added water. Oh, tastes like water.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic.
Well, they did parodies back and forth, those guys. You had the Lünings, and Ralfy made fun of the Lünings too. And it was just it's this great camaraderie. And we still have this in the whiskey fabric, which it's phenomenal. Nobody's competing against anybody. We're all in this together. We're all friends. We're all pals, you know?
It's brilliant. And I think that that's just an extension of what whiskey is actually capable of doing. It's just the idea that, you know, people just get together because out of that love of whiskey, and it's a very quick bonding glue.
You got that right.
and it's just a fantastic thing. It's wonderful. Listen, I'm gonna before I part from you just now, I'm gonna ask a favor of you, and what I'll do at the end of this show, I know it's going to go on, is I'm just going to ask the crowd if they want to hang around and do a quiz. The quiz is kind of Ralphie themed. And if the crowd want to do a quiz, it'll be right at the end. So anybody that doesn't want to do the quiz can just slip out and go home and hang off, and that's fine. And it'll just be the guys that want to do the quiz at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Foodquig, would you be willing to step up and go up against the crowd? I'll ask somebody from the crowd to represent the crowd and the quiz at the end if we do a quiz.
Sure, why not?
Yes.
What have I got to lose there?
Absolutely nothing that you care about, for sure. Absolutely nothing.
Nothing at all. Nothing at all.
Thank you so much. I'm going to put links down to everybody's channel, and I encourage people to invest in Foodquig, because what he brings out of whiskey, I think when it comes to dissecting a dram and to dissecting it down to layer after layer after layer, that his only peer is Ralfy. And that's that's just my opinion.
You're too kind and generous there, Roy. You're too kind.
And I'm not buttering you up. We're already friends. I don't need to do it. But I'm genuine about that, and I'll stand and I'll defend that to anyone. And I think that people, once they invest in what you can do to a dram, it's impressive, Andy. It really is. I mean, Foodquig.
You can call me Andy if you like. That's all right.
Thank you. I'll catch up with you soon. Thanks so much for dropping by.
It was my pleasure and a half.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I've got one or two comments to catch up on quickly. That was nice. I really enjoyed that. That was nice. Whiskey Throttle asked me to ask about the SNWS confiscations in British Columbia. Sorry, Whiskey Throttle, I only just got that comment just now. And Hoagie Bear was asking Foodquig how he would compare the lore to the 18. So maybe Foodquig, you can go back in the chat and have a chat with Hoagie Bear, who's in there, and ask him what you think about the lore up against the Lafroig 18. I think Scott is gonna have to go. Scott, thanks so much for staying around this long. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, my friend. It's wonderful to have you in. And until next time, in fact, have you disappeared already, or do you just want to come in and say goodbye to?
Yep, I was trying to say, hey, just bring me back in for a second.
Sorry.
Thanks for having me. A blast as always. Congratulations to Ralphy for the 100,000 subscriber mark, and keep them coming and keep inspiring us and other people, as well.
And the same to you. You're doing the same for all of us as well. You're an inspiration to the community, and it's fantastic to have you around, Scott. Fantastic to have you in here again tonight as well. Until next time.
We'll see you, and thank you for having me.
Cheers, my friend. Superb. So I see the time. We are now an hour and 20 minutes in. Thanks for bearing with us, but I'm kind of enjoying myself. I'm quite enjoying this. The next guest I'm going to bring in, I'm going to bring this guy in cold, and I'm just going to bring him in because I think it's important that it's not kind of, as I said earlier, that's why I had Scott Munro in, and it's not just kind of whiskey tubers. And what we've got here is a massive community. The chat window literally is just rolling past next to me, and so many of the people in that chat I recognize their names. They're here week after week after week, and they contribute. They genuinely contribute. They've got informed opinions. They've got encouraging advice. They've got fantastic support. They're discussing matters amongst themselves, and they're interacting with what's going on in the stream as well. And I thought, do you know what? If we're going to get together and celebrate Ralfy, one of the biggest things that YouTube has spawned is this sense of connected community. And I wanted to reach out to whiskey fans as well, as I said earlier. The guy I'm going to pull in now, you have never seen his face before. You've never read a blog that he's written. You've probably never even read a tweet that he's composed. He doesn't post images on Instagram. And yet, I guarantee you virtually everybody that's in this chat and this stream tonight will know who this guy is. I'm going to bring in, if he's still here, I hope you're still here, I'm going to bring in, when I bring you in, you need to unmute yourself, my friend. I'm going to bring in my friend, Welsh Toro. Introduce yourself, my friend.
Hello, it's Welsh Toro here. Hi, Roy. Sorry for coming in late. I was in Spanish time again.
Don't worry. Bienvenido. It's nice to have you here, my friend. It's nice to have you here. Now, for the longest time, I thought that you were Spanish. And then I spoke to you and I heard your accent, and clearly, no, I think perhaps your wife is actually Spanish.
That's right, yes. My wife is Spanish, yes. I actually do come from Wales, but I spend a great deal of time in Spain as well. So, country I love. Just
show us your T-shirt quickly there, Welsh, because it's perfect.
All right, I thought I'd better. There we go.
That's perfect. If I imagined Welsh Toro, probably the image that you're showing me right now is pretty close to what I would imagined in advance.
I've even got the Ralphy bonnet on tonight, slightly at one side as well. There we go.
Yeah, I'm looking at the chat. The chat's just gone crazy. Tom's just said, "Oh my God, No Nonsense Whiskey is like it's Welsh Toro." And Malted Man Cave said, "I would be so happy if it's Welsh." Welsh, good to see you on. He has a bull on his shirt. Whiskey in the Six is saying he called it. Love it. Evening Toro. So that's exactly what I hoped. Just the idea that, because I said to you beforehand that to us, you're just this red disc with a black bull on it. And literally almost every YouTube video that I go and watch, I can find sometimes an uncannily accurate and insightful comment by Welsh Toro in the comments. You're a massive contributor in a very, very unique YouTube way.
Thank you. I honestly, sometimes I completely forget what I've written. I go back and look at certain vlogs and I see my name there. I've had no recollection of writing it.
That's right. That's exactly right. It gets worse when you actually make a video and you forget what you say in a video. Welsh, don't worry about it. It comes to us all. So listen, I imagine that, you're a huge fan of YouTube. YouTube seems to be your platform. It seems to be where you connect and communicate with people more than anything. Would you say that was Ralfy influenced, or were you already on YouTube before Ralfy came along?
I wasn't really. Now that I think about it, a bit like some of the previous guys, I've been into whiskey for a long time, but it took me a little while to start getting into it in a big way, like we all are now. And I think that probably did start by looking at, I think I probably caught on to Ralfy. I can't remember how I did, but I got onto him. And it wasn't just whiskey either. It was other stuff as well. I think he introduced me to stuff like this, Elijah Craig. I remember him doing bourbon reviews. I knew nothing about bourbon, really. I remember he did Elijah Craig, and I think he did an Elmer T. Lee. I got a couple of those bottles just before they became impossible to get. And so he introduced me to other stuff as well, and he was handy for doing things like, independent bottlers, stuff like that, which I didn't really know about. Luckily, I managed to catch on to it just before, the whole whiskey thing went mega, and I managed to get on the tail end some good bottlings before it became super expensive.
Yeah, you're a canny man. I think you have actually fond memories of being able to go out and buy quite freely Port Ellen.
That's right, yeah. It was my very first bought malt Scotch whiskey. When I was a kid, I did get, when I was a young man, sort of Christmas presents of things like Glenlivet, Glenfiddich, all that sort of thing. But I went into a shop, bought my first bottle. I had no idea what it was. I just liked the look of it. And it happened to be Port Ellen, which you could still buy.
Quite unbelievable. And I know it's a 4-figure joining fee to join that club now, right?
It's depressing. I really want to buy a bottle, but there's no way I'm paying that kind of money.
Yeah. Well, if you say that, that it's a cool thing to say that, I remember the days when I could go out and buy a Port Ellen, and it was Port Ellen that got me into whiskey. That's something to say.
Yeah. But that's what I thought sort of posh, good whiskey tastes like. I had no idea that you could get different sorts of whiskey. I always thought it was sort of Islay whiskey. or smoky whiskey.
And is your preference still very much planted in Islay, or are you? I get the impression that you're into all whiskies, right?
I like them all, yeah. I do. I mean, I notice these days there's a big thing about sherry. I do like sherried whiskey, but you know that seems to be where a lot of people go now. I like those. I like lowland whiskies, you know, which often get overlooked. But I've got very nice Bladnoch here. There you go. Very nice one, 23-year-old Bladnoch. That was a good price for that.
Fantastic.
But yeah, all sorts. You know, I like Ralphie's choice of the Glencadam 15. I've been drinking that for a couple of years. Really excellent dram.
Yeah.
Although somebody tells me that might be on the way out.
Well, I think I was on just the other day there, and it's sold out. It's certainly sold out, and I think that that's a mark of his influence. I think the Glencadam 15 would have been a fairly well-stocked supply chain, so probably it'll pop back into the online stores and things again if it hasn't already. But yeah, Glencadam 15 just disappeared, and that's probably got a lot to do with the fact that Ralfy called it as his whiskey of the year. Now, what is even more interesting than that, and I'm going to share something with you, Welsh. I don't know if you support Ralfy on Patreon, but I do, and I have for a while, and it gives us access to some kind of comments, and we can chat to Ralfy and message, and if we're very, very lucky, sometimes he might even reply occasionally to our kind of messages and things like that. Anyway, we got a heads up of the Glencadam 15 being called as his whiskey of the year as a Patreon supporter, and immediately I went on to the online stores to find that Master of Malt had already sold out, and he'd only released that video maybe 12 hours before.
Right.
The Whiskey Exchange was still in stock, but when I checked the other day, and I'm going to check as you chat next, I'm just going to see if it's back in just now, is that it's just a remarkable kind of dynamic that's happening now, that once he gets up to 100,000 subs, and if he stands up at the end of the year and says, the whiskey I connected with most, that ticked the boxes for me, is this Glencadam 15, and then it's just going to sell out. It's quite amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and same in previous years, wasn't it? Old Pulteney 17, Ardbeg 10. I'm trying to think of his other ones. I can't think of them right now.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I can tell you, you mentioned Ardbeg 10, so Glencadam 15, Ardbeg 10, Old Pulteney 17, Glendronach 15, Benromac 10.
Yeah.
Basically, the ones I was pulling up tonight to dram along. In fact, the one I'm sipping just now is I've moved on to the Old Pulteney 17. I'm sipping an Old Pulteney 17 now. So yeah, I always do get suckered in by Ralphie's call on whiskey of the year, because if it's not something that I've already got and it's engaged him, I am always curious, and I'm never let down. I can't find. I'm on the Whiskey Exchange. You can buy a Glencadam 15 miniature. Maybe I'm just not looking hard enough. There's the 18-year-old. Yeah, I think it's sold out on the Whiskey Exchange as well. So there you go. That's, if you'll permit me, Welsh, is that okay if I just talk about a wee competition that I'm going to run?
Yeah, go for it. So
this whiskey is sold out. It's only the diehards that are in here right now. There's very few people going to see this. That's exactly my intention. I want this to go to a fan. I'm going to, if it's possible for me to give this bottle of Glencadam 15 away, I'm going to give it away. And all I ask is that you subscribe to me and that you subscribe to Ralfy, and that in the comments of this live video that you go in and leave a comment to say Glencadam 15, and then just maybe leave something about why you enjoy Ralfy, why you enjoy his videos, what you think he's done for whiskey, whatever comment you want to leave. And if I'll go through those comments, and then I'll pick a random number out on another live stream, and we'll draw a name. And as long as I can verify that you subscribe to Ralfy and you subscribe to me, I'll try to find a way to ship this Glencadam 15 to you. It's a full bottle, and I'd bought it with that intention that it was always going to be, this is what I was going to do with it. If I can't ship it to you, if it's because you're in a country that just will not allow me to ship alcohol to you, then we'll get together and we'll work out something else that we can do. to get something to you. And, you know, I just don't know where you're going to end up being. But I have to obviously do this legally. But there's a bottle here of Glencadam 15, very malt driven. It's a 46% bottling. It's natural colour. It says so on the label. It also tells us that it's unchill filtered, exactly ticked all the Ralphie's boxes. And it's quite an enjoyable dram. A very, very nice, middle of the flavour map, balanced whiskey. So there you go. If you subscribe to Ralfy, you subscribe to me, and then just leave a comment with Glencadam 15 and a reason why you enjoy Ralfy in there. I'll pick all of those comments out. I'll put it in a spreadsheet, give it a random number, ask Siri to pick out the random number on a live stream, and I'll pick it out, and then I'll try and work with you to get the bottle to you. Sorry, Welsh. Thank you for your patience while I did that.
That's all right. In fact, I've actually got a drink that is just your sort of thing at the moment. I've just bought myself the Annog 2002. And I know we both miss the 16-year-old.
Oh, yeah. I think we are kindred spirits in that respect, and that you mentioned how people, what is that, the 2002? People go nuts for the sherried bombs and the peat monsters and things, and I understand that because there's a hook, and there's a significant hook, and once you get into it, and once you start to taste beyond those hooks and all the layers and things, it's fabulous. But for me, my sweet spot in whiskey is probably something that's been allowed to age for a long time in a fairly tired ex-bourbon cask so that, you know, the distillate's got a mention, the wood has got a mention, and hopefully, if we're lucky, the environment's had a chance to have a bit of a mention as well, right?
And they're the whiskies that don't get reviewed so much, I think. You know, I recently found a source for out there 1997, and the classic bourbon. Really excellent. I actually think it's as good as the 1989. Yeah. It's younger, about 16 years old, but it's whatever it is, it's good cask.
Yeah. I mean, it's yeah, you're right. I think it's overlooked because it's just so kind of, you know, it's right in the center. At one side, we've got the sherry bombs, and the other side, we've got the peat monsters. And of course, they're not mutually exclusive. They can all kind of mix and things. But sometimes the purest experience, in modern times anyway, for as long as Scotch has been aged in bourbon casks, we've been exposed to this really, really sometimes wonderful experience. And I think you're right. You mentioned the Annog 16, and we're both absolutely gutted because that was probably a fabulous and affordable example of exactly that style.
Yeah, many of them have gone. I mean, the Glenlivet Nadura, 16-year-old, that was a similar sort of style.
Yeah, there was a bourbon version of the Nadura, that's right, a cast strength Nadura, yep.
That's right. And there are a couple of other ones as well around that age which have also been kicked into the long grass for the time being anyway.
Yeah.
Actually, just going back to that Ralfy review, I was just thinking about that one where he was mopping up off the table. That was a rose bank, so I would be doing the same thing.
Yeah, with a straw. That's right. And the great thing is because he doesn't edit it out. I mean, that's just all in it. It's just in the video. It's just
bugger.
Superb. Okay, my friend, I think we are very close to the end. I'm just going to see, I had one more guest that was perhaps going to drop in. And I had a couple of guys waiting in the wings. I'm going to give a shout out to some of the other people that were up for dropping in. Mark in Korea, which is probably early on a Monday morning for him, came on and said, you know what, I'm available, I can drop in and chat. And I said, you know, depending on how time goes, I had the Scotch for Dummies that were kind of saying, you know, we might be available, we could drop in. And it's just wonderful that all of these people kind of said, you know, I hear that you're doing this thing for Ralfy. I want to be a part of that. I want to let Ralfy know that he's affected my whiskey life. He's affected my whiskey journey in a very positive way. There were a lot of people. I could literally go on, Welsh, for another couple of hours, just getting people in and talking about their Ralfy experiences. But this live, I wanted to. I mean, I think it's quite a coup, if I'm honest, that I've put a face to the Welsh Toro name. I think that's quite a cool thing. I'm very happy to have done that. But I wanted the fans to be able to say as well, not just kind of the whiskey tubers and say, oh yeah, we're doing what we do because of you, Ralphie, and things. But I wanted kind of the fans to say, do you know what? He's affected what I drink. He's affected how I view and consume whiskey as well. So thank you for joining me.
Great stuff. Thanks, Roy.
And I hope you hang around to the end. I don't know. I think I'm going to ask somebody in the crowd to, well, I'm going to ask, we are an hour and 40 minutes in. I've got a Ralphy-themed quiz. If the crowd want to do a quiz tonight, if there's lots of people coming in, if there's just a few, we might kill it, and I might just use this quiz on the Thursday night live stream because I've already gone on for quite a while. So it's very late. It's Sunday night. I appreciate that people have work in the morning. But we've got Foodquig, who's already said to himself, do you know what? If there's a quiz tonight, he's up for it. So if there are people in the crowd that want a quiz, what do you think? Well, should we have a quiz or not? How do you feel about the quiz thing that I do?
Am I back on?
Yeah, I've not kicked you out. No, you're still here.
Yeah, great. Everyone seems to like the quiz.
Do you participate in the quiz?
I do, but some people jump the gun. I don't mind. It's a laugh.
Yeah, I am often shocked by the knowledge in the crowd. I'm often absolutely flabbergasted by what they know. Not just the fact that they know a lot of the questions, but they consistently know most of the questions. And it's quite humbling as a reviewer. If you're going to be on YouTube and different places and review whiskey, you have to bear in mind that a lot of the people that you're speaking to really know their stuff, right?
That's amazing, isn't it? I mean, as I say, you can't even Google the answer. It's already up.
That's right. Okay, I think, let's see. Hoagie Bear would be up for the quiz. Fantastic, my friend. I think, have I had Hoagie on before? I think Hoagie was holding the fort for the quiz on the first, for the crowd, sorry, on the first quiz I ever did. Let's see who else. No Nonsense Whiskey is saying do the quiz. Hoyt says I'm up for the quiz. Hoyt, tell me, are you up for just participating, or are you up for actually benchmarking yourself? Are you going to represent the crowd tonight? So what I do is I nominate somebody from the crowd to take the mark for the crowd, and they go up against whoever the guest is, and it's just for fun. It's for nothing else other than fun. There's no prizes for this. It's just kudos and a bit of a laugh. Kevin Bryant is saying quiz it. Malton Man Cave is saying quiz. Scott Munro quiz. There are a few. So what I would say, if you're tired, if you've got to be up early in the morning, I want to thank everybody for turning out tonight. I'm going to just go in and check to see how many people we had in tonight, because it was super busy. I saw how fast the chat was going past. We had 118 provisional numbers, or 118 in tonight. I know it's because it's a Ralphy-themed thing. It's not because of Aqvavitae. It's not even because I had Scott or Foodquig or Welsh Toro or Scott Munro or any of these guys in tonight. I think the reason that is purely because it was a Ralphy-themed thing. And that's yet another reason to say thanks to Ralphy. But you can leave now. The only thing that's going to be from here at an hour and 45 minutes in and beyond is 10 questions that are kind of Ralphy themed.
Before I go, can I just mention number 400, Ralphy, Lagavulin and Champagne. That was another good one.
That's the one that was mentioned earlier, the Champagne one. Is that number 400?
Oh, right. Okay. That's number 400, that one. Yeah.
Superb. That's your favourite Ralphie video, is it?
That's definitely a good one. I also like his chat with Serge Valentin as well. Another one of my favourite whiskey gods.
Serge is just such a dude. If I could meet somebody from the whiskey, somebody that I haven't met so far, Serge would have to be up there. And yeah, they're sitting outside of that kind of chateau place, and they're just Ralphie's got his kind of big 1980s style microphone, and he's just sitting there just casually chatting to Serge, who's obviously just a friend, right?
Yeah, yes. I think he'd just become one of the malt maniacs, hadn't he, Ralphie, at the time?
Yeah, he was a malt maniac for a while. That's right. He was a malt maniac, and he deserves to be a malt maniac, clearly.
Yeah, definitely.
Wonderful. I'm just going to pour my last dram of the night as I go through this quiz. Another one of Ralphie's whiskies of the year. Clean glass. I think, have we suggested that hoagie, I think my wife has stopped moderating now. I don't think she's feeding me anymore. Let me check. Tom Harrison, ask Welsh to open his Balblair 83 on stream now. Have you got a Balblair 83?
Well, I do have a bottle of it. It's right over there in that corner.
Well, it's up to you. I'm not going to bully you into opening that, but I know how good that Balblair 83 is. It's an absolutely stellar dram. It says, Lynn, my wife is saying, I'm passing over to Vin. She needs some sleep. Sorry. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you for looking out for me tonight. He's going to send you direct message on Twitter with the comments. So I'm going to click over to Vin in a second. George Kaplan is saying, Aqvavitae, I think people need to comment on the video, not live chat, about Glencadam 15. That's absolutely what I mean, George. Thank you for pointing that out. The live chat is lost after this. After this, I close this down. I can't see the live chat. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't allow me unless I go through OBS. Yeah, I don't have the chat afterwards. I'm talking about you need to go into the comments of this video after the event and enter the competition that way. George, thanks for pointing that out. It's absolutely critical that people know that if they want this Glencadam 15, if they want to enter that competition, that's what you need to do. Leave a comment and a like if you're there, please, or whatever you want to do in the comment feed. Thank you. 98 watching, go ahead with the quiz. That's my wife saying that. So yes, I absolutely will. I'm going to go ahead with the quiz. If you're staying for it, I prepared it especially for Ralfy. So here we go. I'm going to just go to Vin. Eric Waite is reviewing the 10, 15 and 21 next week. I think you're talking about the Glencadams, yes. Eric, fantastic. I look forward to your reviews on that. Eric Waite is in the US and he has his own channel. He's a wine sommelier, I believe. Foodquig pouring a Lafroig 18 for Hoagie Bear. There you go, Hoagie. I hope the two of you are hooking up in the chat to talk about that. And Cian O'Hara is finishing off a Benrinnes 10. Ooh, a 10-year-old Benrinnes. It's not the official one then. That's a 15-year-old who's the official. So that looks like maybe an independent or something. I love Benrinnes. Cian, I absolutely love it. Okay, let's get on with this quiz. Welsh, thank you very much for joining in. I can't tell you how chuffed I was when I reached out to you and you said, yeah, that's just amazing. It's wonderful to have you in. I'm going to be even more excited to interact with you in the comments in the future. And I know that you'll come to Scotland. If I come to the Midlands, we'll hook up. But probably the way we're going to share a dram together will be in Spain, right?
It's more than likely.
Hasta próxima vez, mi amigo. Adios.
Adios.
Okay, so let's hit up these quiz questions. Let's get through them as quickly as we can. I think, Hoagie Bear, you are the guy who I'm going to take the scores from the crowd, and I'm going to pull in my friend Foodquig if he's still sitting there, which no doubt he will be. And if he hits the unmute, he'll be able to communicate with us again, and he will be in the Foodquig.
Yeah, Roy, I'm here.
You're in the building. If you hover over the window, do you see a little blue icon in the top left that will let you open the chat window?
Whoa, what are you talking about?
If you hover over my face, basically, you'll see an icon pop up in the top left. It looks like a speech bubble, and it's
okay, it's got a 1 on it. Yeah.
So if we can just chat now.
I just clicked on it
here. And this is where I'm going to get you. So when I give a countdown and I say 3, 2, 1, answer, that's where you're going to hit the enter button. So you're going to type your answer in there. I hit 3, 2, 1, you hit enter, and it pops through to me. Only I see it. Nobody else in the YouTube chat sees it. It's only me that sees it. And then when I give the 3, 2, 1 countdown, when the crowd answer, there's usually about an 8 or 10 second delay on these feeds. soon after we start to chat about the answer, we can look over to the comments and we see the crowd's answers pouring in. Does that make sense?
Watch me fail miserably.
Hey, listen, nobody fails. Nobody fails. The fact that you're
It's all in
participating,
fun anyway. Yeah.
exactly. It's just for fun, and you're only, these are kind of oddball questions because they're very Ralphy themed. So let's go with it. Hoagie Bear, I just need a thumbs up from you that you're up for this, and if you're up for it, I am just going to start hitting the questions. We just need to wait a few seconds. Have you do watch and you do my quizzes, don't you? After the event, Foodquig.
Oh, you're talking to me? Yeah, sure. I'm still on Thursday, but I will catch up eventually with everything.
Of course you will. Right, we've got a thumbs up from the man in Germany, the star that is Hoagie Bear. Fantastic, my friend. It's good to have you in. Right, first question on this Ralphy-themed quiz. Ralphie, I hope you're watching. I hope you realise the effort I've gone to here. Question 1, which sea, I'm starting you very easy, which sea surrounds the locality of Ralphy's bothy? Which sea? So, Foodquig, please type it in our personal chat, the direct chat between you and I.
Got it.
And hit 3, 2, 1. Hoagie Bear, hit enter. Bang. I've got the answer from Foodquig. Foodquig has answered. Hoagie Bear, what sea? Hoagie Bear has answered Irish Sea. He's one of the first answerers to come in. James Smith got it right. No Nonsense Whiskey got it right. Welsh Toro got it right. Hoyt Hemphill, Malted Man Cave, Malt Cask. Hi Etty, how are you? Mike at Whiskey Wings got it right. Tom R, too bloody easy. And everybody, it's all just pouring in. Russell Connor Strang, Dram Dude. Everybody, everyone, everybody's getting it right. It's absolutely right. Foodquig answered Irish Sea. He got it right as well. Okay, fantastic. One each. That was too easy to start with. Question 2. Ralphie has not nominated which of the following whiskies as his whiskey of the year. So this is an A, B, C, multiple choice. I'm going to say 3 whiskies. 2 of them he's nominated as his whiskies of the year. 1 of them he has not. Okay? A, Old Pulteney 17-year-old. B, Glendronach 12-year-old. C, Brookladdy 10-year-old. So, Foodquig, Andy, I want you to type in either A, B, or C. And hit enter in 3, 2, 1, enter.
Watch me get it wrong.
Okay, I have Andy's answer. It's in. Hoagie Bear has answered. And Hoagie Bear has answered A, Old Pulteney 17-year-old. And Foodquig, we have a difference here. Foodquig has answered B, Glendronach 12-year-old. Now, earlier in the stream, I pulled up all of Ralphie's recent bottles, whiskies of the year. And Glendronach 15-year-old is here. Glendronach 12-year-old is not. So, Hoagie, unfortunately, Foodquig got that right, and you were wrong, my friend, answering A, Old Pulteney 17-year-old. Old Pulteney 17-year-old was actually Ralphie's whiskey of the year in 2015. Oh.
It's my alarm. I'm supposed to wake up now.
Oh, sorry.
It's all good.
So you got up about 2 hours early for me. Foodquig, thank you so much. Question 3. Despite some, including me, speaking positively about Glen Scotia double cask, Ralphie would choose not to review it. Why? So I have had a positive whiskey engagement experience with an expression from Glen Scotia called their double cask. But we will not find a review from Ralphie on that whiskey. Tell me why. Answer, Andy, in 3, 2, 1, go.
Done.
Hoagie Bear has got it right. It's non-age statement. Foodquig has answered non-age statement. 1 apiece. Fantastic. Ralfy would not, despite the fact it's 46%, to the best of information that we have, it's a natural color or no added color.
Oh, by the way, this Lafroig is wonderful.
Lafroig.
I've got both of these going right here.
Oh wow! So you're actually comparing them back to back, the lower and the 18.
Oh yeah, they're both excellent.
No doubt. Ooh. It's been a while since I've had a Lafroig 18, but I've got a very funny story that goes along with it.
I'd love to hear it someday.
Well, I'll tell you right now, we were at my friend's 40th birthday party, and we'd come back from Islay, from the Fisheel for my 40th birthday party, and we'd all brought our souvenirs, and some of them were quite expensive. We'd invested fairly heavily. And my friend Keith, I hope he watches this at some point, my friend Keith brought back one of his precious bottles, was the Lafroig 18. And we were at his 40th birthday party, and Keith just said, yeah, I've got whiskey there, help yourselves. And there was a bunch of guys there. And my friend Simon Rose from down south, he's a Coventry guy, originally from the Midlands, and he now lives in the Cotswolds. Simon Rose helped himself to Keith's cabinet, and he came out with a tumbler, a rocks glass, that was 3 inches filled with whiskey. And he polished off my friend's Lafroig 18. And I said, why have you poured a measure like that? Look at the size of that. And he just stood there going, he just went, Lafroig 18. And he completely cleaned them out of Lafroig 18, drinking it like that. So yeah, it's been a while since I've it's quite expensive to buy a Lafroig 18 now. Back then, that was, he bought that in 2010, and I think he paid about £70 for it.
I got it last summer for about $200. I think it was 200 or 220.
I think it's about 125 type, 130, maybe more now. It's been a while since I've actually seen it available for sale, to be honest with you.
You're talking pounds, right?
Yes, pounds. I only know pounds. I only can convert.
I'm talking CAD, Canadian dollars, so that it doesn't, apples and oranges, doesn't compare.
Are you ready for question 4, my friend?
Oh, sure.
Which of the following videos is Ralphie's most watched ever? So it's multiple choice, A, B, C. I'm going to do this quickly so I don't want people Googling. His most watched ever. Is it A, how to drink and enjoy whiskey? Is it B, Johnny Walker Blue Label? Or is it C, recommended single malts? So just choose A, B, C, and enter. A is how to drink and enjoy whiskey. B is Johnny Walker Blue Label. And C is recommended single malts. I have Foodquig's answer. I'm looking at the crowd. The answers are pouring in. Hoagie Bear's not sure. And Hoagie Bear have both answered the same thing. They've both answered C, recommended single malts. I'm now scrolling down to see how many people got it right. Mike at Whiskey Wings got it right. Jez Batty, well done, Jez. Nice to see you here. Got it right. Scott Munro got it right. Connor Strang got it right. That's a surprise, Connor. Sneerson got it right. You guys got it wrong, I'm afraid. It is his most watched.
Oh,
yeah. His most watched whiskey is whiskey video is how to drink and enjoy whiskey.
damn.
Yeah, so there you go. Question 5. Ralphie's Whiskey of the Year in 2016 was a 10-year-old Islay. Which was it? 3, 2, 1. Enter, because this is quite easy. It was a 10-year-old. A 10-year-old Islay was his Whiskey of the Year in 2016.
Well, like I said, watch me get it wrong.
If you're not sure, my friend, there's no disgrace. Don't worry.
No, there's no disgrace.
So it's thank you for your answer. Yeah, thank you for your answers, everybody. Oh, Connor Strang has actually managed to get a question wrong. He did nominate Bruichladdich 10-year-old, Connor, but it wasn't in 2016. Bruichladdich 10-year-old was in 2011. That's the first time I've seen Connor Strang actually get a question wrong. he's raging now, I bet you. Everybody else is saying Ardbeg. Foodquig said Ardbeg, and Hoagie Bear said very, very early on Ardbeg. So you both get a point for that. Well done, guys. Moving on to question 6. Ralfy has a brother.
Are you telling me I got them all right so far?
No, you've managed to get one wrong.
Oh,
You got question 4 wrong. The one about the most popular video. Okay. Question 6. Ralfy has a brother with a very successful YouTube channel of his own. What's the channel called? Ralfy's brother. 345,000 subscribers. Very prolific output. Lots of stuff. Really cool videos. Really interesting, especially for the tech and kind of geeky engineering types amongst us.
I know the guy's first name, but I don't remember the name of the channel. Well, I'll just put this down. It's probably wrong, but I don't care.
Damn close, big guy. Damn close. The name of the channel of Ralfy's brother is bigclive.com. Now, what's funny about that is Ralfy's is Ralfy.com. They use the same structure. So, Foodquig. Hoagie Bear got that right. Yeah, it's Hoagie Bear answered. Well done, Hoagie Bear. Bigclive.com. PewDiePie. Eric Wade's answered PewDiePie. Let's see. Whiskey Wings, Mike got it right again. Bigclive.com. Who else got it wrong? Bauhauser got it correct. Kevin Bryant got it correct. Tom R. Well done, Tom. Got it right. Victor E. Big Clive, half of it got it right. Bigclive.com. Fun Johnny. Loads of people know Ralfy's brother. Fantastic. Superb. If you don't know him, check him out. It's a really fun channel. Do a search by the most popular video he's ever done because it's an absolute blast. Question 7. So Hoagie Bear, sorry, has got 2 wrong, Foodquig, and you also have 2 wrong. So it's a dead heat as we go into question 7. Which YouTube review channel famously parodied Ralfy in 2016? Which YouTube review channel famously parodied Ralfy in 2016? 3, 2, 1, answer. Okay. Thank you, Foodquig. So they're all pouring in. Hoyt Hemhill says STDs. A malted man cave is saying Whiskey Vault. No Nonsense Whiskey is saying Whisky.com, I think. Scott Munro is saying Horst and Son. It's Hoagie Bear's answer I'm looking for. It's a bit late coming in, so I think it's a no-show from Hoagie Bear. Yeah, no answer from Hoagie Bear. Hoagie Bear, if you don't know, you can just put a big question mark in. It's absolutely fine. No disgrace.
Yours is no disgrace.
Foodquig has answered Whisky.com. And it was Horst Luning's son. I forget his name. What's Horst's son? I forget his name.
Benedict.
Oh, Hoagie's saying he did answer. Hoagie Bear, I'm looking up the live. I don't see. Can you see the live, Foodquig?
Sorry?
Can you see the live chat?
Let me switch to it. Look it up. Hoagie Bear, I did answer. Okay, I'm going back on it here. Let's see. Holy. There's a lot of comments here. I don't see. Wow.
I'm up to Big Clive answers. Hoagie Bear, I don't think your answer popped through.
Maybe you didn't hit return. I don't know. Oh, wait. BigLive.com. That's what it's. No, it's Clive.
That's the previous one. Yeah, it's the previous
Okay,
one.
that's Clive. Okay, wait a minute. I'm looking.
We don't see it. Is it a quirk in the matrix?
Most probably, because I don't see anything here. Wait, I'm still looking. I'm kind of slow, so, give me a chance.
If anybody else in the comments can see Hoagie Bear's reply, probably Hoagie Bear can see it and we can't. It's only visible because I mentioned a website. My answer was whisky.de, did a review, the young Ben Looning, but I typed the dot. So it's not lit. It thinks it's spamming. What do you think? What do you think, Andy? Would we give him that? So what happens is because he's typed in whisky.com, it's
That's good. Give it to him. It's whisky.com. Sure.
Yeah, it saw a website and he's thought it's not let him enter it. So yeah,
no, give it to
you know
him.
what?
It's whisky.com. It's whisky.de. They're both the same channel. It's all good.
And the thing is that it's a German guy. He's gonna know. He's gonna know it, right? I think we give you the benefit that this is for fun, Hoagie. It's absolutely the right thing to do to give you the benefit of the doubt. You typed the dot. I need to remember that for future, actually. Question 8. One of Ralphie's most famous reviews appears in Aqvavitae's Best YouTube Whiskey Ever playlist. What whiskey is being reviewed? And this is a multiple choice. It's an A, B, C. Is it A, Glenbretton? Is it B, Lagavulin 16-year-old? Is it C, Johnny Walker Red Label? A, B, C. 3, 2, 1. Enter. So one of Ralphie's most famous reviews appears in Aqvavitae's Best YouTube Whiskey Ever playlist. Which whiskey is being reviewed? Hoagie Bear has said C, Johnny Walker Red Label, and Foodquig has said Lagavulin 16. Oh, Hoagie Bear, you're correct. It's Johnny Walker Red Label. Oh,
we were even talking about that one.
I'm sorry, my friend. You're absolutely right. We were comparing your Lefroy Loa to the Johnny Walker Red Label one.
I need another drink.
Yeah, you do. That was a banana skin right there. With 2 questions to go, it looks like Hoagie Bear is 1 ahead of you. Of course, you do know how much of a scholar Hoagie Bear is, so there's no...
it's no big deal. It's okay.
That's right. 2 left to go. Question 9. 100,000 subscribers doesn't break any records. But Ralphie is a record breaker. What type of Guinness World Record does Ralphie hold? Now, all I'm looking here for is that you don't need to tell me the specific details because I don't understand the specific category, but what type, the genre, I'm going to be very relaxed about this one. What genre of world record, Guinness World Record, does Ralphie hold? 3, 2, 1, enter. Hoagie Bear, we're waiting on your answer to come in. Speed record for a low-power motorcycle in the desert in the US. Yes, that's the correct answer. And Foodquig also answered the exact same thing. Ralphie holds a really cool world land speed record for, I think it's like a 250cc motorcycle category or something. Or it might be, Danny is saying 250c MC. We've got Victory saying 125cc. I could be wrong. My memory says 250cc, but I could be absolutely wrong. Well done, both of you, for getting that right. Last question is question 10. According to TubeBuddy Analytics, and that's just a tool that I use to analyze things on YouTube and things, how many public videos has Ralphie released? Now, this is multiple choice, so you don't need to pick a figure from the sky. Is it A, 658? Is it B, 758? Or C, 858? So A, 658, B, 758, or C, 858. 3, 2, 1, answer. I have Foodquig's answer. And I'm looking at the chats now. Oh, the answers are starting to come in. Tom is saying B, the WhiskyTuber, a new name. Nice to see you, is B. No-Nonsense Whiskey is C. Whiskey Wings is B. Danny is B. Whiskey Biker is C. B. Hoagie Bear has answered B. Foodquig has also answered B. And you're both mistaken.
Fuck!
He is at review something 711, 712, which I could see why you would go for 758. But according to TubeBuddy, Ralfy has 858 public videos. So there we go. The answer we were looking for was C. Neither of you get that. So I think, just let me check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to Hoagie Bear, 7 out of 10. Superb mark. Foodquig, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 10. You've been pipped by a point by Hoagie Bear, the whiskey master from Germany. Well done, Foodquig. Well done.
Okay.
Still a comfortable pass.
I got to get some water. I'll be right back.
I'm going to start pulling in some other people. Any of you who have been patiently sitting in the background watching me monologuing, unmute yourselves now and come in and help me sign off here. We have gone the longest ever live stream. I fully expected that was going to be the case. Thank you all for being so patient. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I'm sorry about the guys who'd offered themselves to join me tonight. We had a crammed show and still managed to overrun ridiculously. I'm talking about Jason Whiskey Wise. I'm talking about Mark Whiskey Whistle, Scotch for Dummies, and other people that had said they'd be happy to join in to just kind of say their thanks and recall their memories of Ralfy. How are we all? Are we tired? Well, I've got Vin is currently unmuted. Yeah. So Vin, how are you feeling? Okay?
Yeah, I'm totally bushed. I get up at 6:15 in the morning, so I'll have about 6 hours sleep after this.
That's why I wanted to speak to you. I wanted to say thank you very much for doing the moderation tonight. I can see that we had a really, really positive crowd and there's probably no need for much moderation at all. But still, thank you very much, my friend. It's wonderful to have you in. It's wonderful to have you flying as my wingman tonight as well. And thank you for everything that you do. Thank you, my friend. I'm going to bring in Scott Munro now. If you unmute yourself, Scott, I should be able to say a thank you as well. I'm going to cut off the stream, maybe just mention where we can find you, Scott, quickly, as a thank you for joining us again. Where can we find Scott Munro Kilted Moose?
First of all, thank you so much, Roy, for inviting me on tonight. I really enjoyed it. First time doing this kind of thing, so thank you so much, mate. Absolutely fantastic. Yeah, if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Kilted Moose. On Instagram, I'm at Kilted Moose 72. And my whiskey blog is, if you do a Google search for the Whiskey Moose, that's my whiskey blog. But thank you so much, Roy, and everybody who's taken part tonight. It's lovely to see everybody as well. Welsh, Vin, Foodquig, everybody, and thanks for contributing, everybody, on the comments. First class, and I hope we can do this again, Roy. Fantastic. Thank you so much again, mate.
So do I, Scott. Thank you so much for joining us.
Been a blast, Scott.
Welsh,
good to see you.
Cheers, mate.
Welsh, if you unmute yourself, you'll be able to. I think we know where to find Welsh Toro, but go on, tell us where we can find you, buddy.
Well, I don't know. I suppose I'll be on later. I also get up at 6:15, but I don't go to bed.
If you're looking for Welsh Toro, any whiskey-related YouTube video that's worthy, you'll find in the channel comments, you'll find a little red disc with a black bull in it, and that's our friend and the outstanding contributor and member of the whiskey community, Welsh Toro. Welsh, thank you so much for being so patient and joining us tonight. I am flabbergasted to you and Scott that I gave you such short notice and you were happy to join us. It's a privilege to have had you in. Thank you.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
And I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that joined us tonight. As I say, I know that the huge record, the huge number of people, the traffic that we had in tonight is you were all here because surely because it was our Ralphy-themed thing. Thank you so much for joining. I had an absolute blast tonight. I can't believe how 2 hours went by for me, but that's for me. I know that some of you had to be super patient. Well done to Hoagie Bear for pipping Foodquig by a point in the quiz tonight. And thanks to everybody who contributed positively in the comments, who contributed to the Aqvavitae channel and the cause through Super Chat. You're wonderful, wonderful people. And I look forward to hooking up with you for a more laid back, shorter, hopefully, stream on Thursday night as well. Thank you all so much. And until next time, Slancheva.